Welcome to the Retiring Club. My name is John and I am your host. In this meeting, we're going to take a look at something what I call is the age milestones. But before we would get into that, I just want to review the previous meeting where we were talking about the looking up our company funds. So I went back while I was at the office and I looked at the funds that I had selected and I was able to click on within the portal at the office or within the network and view those funds that I had selected. It had a nice little write up, but the only problem was it didn't have the ticker symbols at all. So I was a little disappointed in that, but I was able to look up the mix of my investments and some information about it. I would prefer to look at the ticker symbols and the information that is out there under Morningstar or Yahoo Finance because it lays out a lot more information related to the performance of the investments. One thing about the investments, which I'll be checking here by the end of the month, is when the end of the year, right around in December, which I've already checked on a couple investments, they're starting to pay off short-term and long-term capital gains, which is like the profits from the fund that are paid out to me as an investor. Right now, in some of my investments, they are set up to be reinvested. The other investment of the long-term brokerage account that I had when I started many years ago, back in the mid or late 80s, I have that invested in going into it goes into cash. And what I do is I put it in a short-term money market, government-backed securities, the T-bills. And that's how I'm building up my cash so that I can draw down on. But I just wanted to fill you in on that because when I was having a difficult time bringing that information up, and it just seems like on the 401k they never make it easy for you to find information. I'm still looking for the capital gains, short term and long term, from the last year. So I'm going to look real hard this year. Whereas in my brokerage account, the IRAs that I have at three other firms, those capital gains show up right there under transactions. They show up as a dividend and then they add them together, the short term, long term, and dividends, and they make one purchase back into the mutual fund. And that's real important to me because I'm 5 years away before I hit my 67 and start the final phases of setting a retirement date. And the capital gains, some of them are great to have reinvestments, but other ones I want to build up a cash nest egg so I have something to draw on and not have to sell any shares. It's very important to me because with me being 5 years out, I have to have cash to draw from that is protected. 5 years from now, on the date that I set, it could be a month out, and you know how 2020 was with the COVID, how that hit us, and what happened those weeks after that with the market decline. Just imagine if you're retiring and your investment accounts drop by 40, 50, 60, 100, $200,000. Well, with my planning, the cash account in the money market, I'll be able to draw out and I'll have some money in the Roth. So that's what I want to um, you know, talk about again and just bring up as far as a review from the last meeting that we had. Um, I was a little concerned about the total Roth contribution because I'm doing two things. I originally started putting cash into the Roth IRA 5 years ago, so I've hit that 5 year mark. Very important with me 59 and over 59 and a half. I'm 62. I don't have to worry about any penalties at all from any accounts that I withdraw from, only taxes. But I have a Roth account. Now, all the money that has gained, which is up 46%. So if I put 5 grand in there, that means at 46%, then it should be half of that or 2,500 bucks in profits. I can take that all out without taxes. And that's what the 5 year rule is. But that is outside of the 401k. The 401k has its own 5 year clock, which I took a look at the notes because I did call HR, and I did pull up what's called the benefit summary. I was looking at it earlier today at the office. I don't want to bring that up because it's got my company's name plastered all over it, and I don't really think that's a good idea. But anyway, sorry about that. You can go look your own up. But anyway, two concerns. Number one, the Roth, um, there's a certain amount of money that I can put in. And for the 401k, there's a certain amount. And I thought maybe I was bumping up to it. But what we're going to do is a screen share, and I'm going to go over those limits with you. And then we're going to get into today's presentation, which is called the age milestone. So I'm going to hop back in here in a second, and then I'm going to come back and do another full video with you. Okay? Just stand by. Okay, here we go, everybody. We're going to take a look at this. So this is your regular Roth IRA in that you would set up in a brokerage account. When you have your brokerage account, you go ahead and open up new account. It asks you, do you want an IRA? And then it asks you, do you want it to be a Roth? If you get a Roth, whatever money you put in, you can always take it out. And it starts a 5-year clock. After the 5 years, that money grows tax free and will be accessible. Now you might have the 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half, but you don't have to worry about that. You just want to pump money in it. You can always get out your principal, just like when you go to the bank, throw it in the savings account. Whatever's growing in those stock market, that's going to stay in there and continue to grow. Okay. And so it's $7,000 here if you're under 50, and they give you extra $1,000 for catch up if you're over 50. This is the one I was worried about a few years back. I thought I bumped up to that $7,000 mark, and I had to reduce some of my contributions because I kept track of it, and I was getting awfully close. So now over here, if we take a look at the Roth 401k, which is going to be what I'm doing now, I just started the 5-year clock, and I'm almost at the end of this month. I'll be at the first 6 months, and I was worried that my 7,700 might go over, but that is not going to be the case. I can maximum contribution is 23,000. And as a someone over 50, I've got a catch up, goes to 30,500. So we now know what our investments can be in and out, as well as we also know that we've got different investment types, either within the 401k or without. So I'm going to end this screen share. We're going to go on to our presentation. Okay, folks, benefits of getting old, the age milestone. And as you know, within this little presentation that I just did, 50, you're eligible for makeup contributions to your retirement plans. And a lot of your plans are specifically going to say that, whether it's your traditional 401k, or in this case, we covered the Roth, which would have been as well as in the brokerage account. The next age is going to be 55. In the year you turn 55, you may start taking withdrawals from a 401k under hardship, loss of job, or other qualifying events. No 10% penalty. However, you will have a 20% withholding for the federal taxes. That 401k, when you go in and you start taking your distributions from it, it has an umbrella where they want you to take 20% out. There's a way to work around that, and it's called an in-service withdrawal. You set it up so you sell X number of shares from all your different investments. Say you want 100 grand to start drawing down on. You get 100 grand in cash, and then you transfer that over to one of these IRAs where you go in, you set it up with one of the brokerage firms, new account, and you would make it an IRA because it has to be transferred in the same. Or if you wanted to go into the Roth, you may have to pay taxes on it. But anyway, what I would be doing is transferring to the IRA. And now when I draw out, I'm drawing out at my own tax rate, or I'm only drawing out whatever the standard deduction is. Because once you stop working, you got your interest, your pension, and what other little deferred compensation you may have. You ain't got no job, so you're not paying any FICA, and you're not paying any federal. You're in a very low tax bracket. You're at 10 and 12%. and it's a gradual. The first 10 grand is at 10%, and then that next part of it will be at 12. But if you're taking out the standard deduction of 16,000 or 32,000 for a married couple, the standard deduction will zero that out. And any extra money coming in on your interest pension, that's what you're going to pay the smaller amount, like that 10%. Because if you leave it in a 401k, you're going to be forced to unnecessarily sell additional shares to meet that 20%. And then you got to wait to get it back. And that's a tip that I discovered with some of my research. It's called the in service withdrawal. They will sell the shares and then you can transfer that out from the 401k umbrella and get away from this 20% and put it in the 1210. Or in my case, if you draw out just whatever your standard deduction is, which is 16,000, that's zero. See that? That's a big zero. And then whatever else you need, you just take it from the Roth. And that's my strategy. That's why we're covering this in our meetings. Okay. So that is age 55. Now here's a good one right here. 59 and a half. You turn 59 and a half, you can forget about the 10% penalty. You got it in a 401k, you got it in your IRA, been pumping money in it, you're going to pay your taxes on it. But again, if you ain't got no job, your taxes are going to be low. Um, by you having a need for small amounts of money, you're able to live off of, say, 25,000, $18,000. You're going to pay 12% taxes, but it's a gradual. Up to the first 10 grand is 10%. Then from that to the final amount is at 12%. Versus taking it from the 401k and paying that 20% federal income tax and then getting it back with your standard deduction, you know, a year later. And then here you go, 62. 62 is the earliest you can take Social Security, and that is a 30% reduction in your benefits. However, if you're the type of person, for whatever reason, and you feel that you want to take Social Security at 62, that's going to be your business and your option. Most people feel that you should take it as soon as you can. If you feel that way, go right ahead. I'm going to opt for the biggest check because I've been investing for a long time and I'm going to use my investment money and I'm going to use these tips to beat the system and pay lower amounts of taxes. All that Roth conversion and they're talking about doing, that's for high end people with these high tax brackets to keep them from, you know, paying money to Uncle Sam. But if you're able to live under $20,000 a year, you can take 16,000. You're single, and if you're married and you live below 32,000, you take the 32,000, you got it for the whole year, you're covered. And that's when you want to have all your stuff paid for and no debt. Now we start looking at 65 years old. At 65, you're eligible for Medicare. Part A is your hospitalization, and that's covered with a deductible. If you go in the hospital, make sure you got a couple grand somewhere because your deductible is going to be about 16, 18, 2200. Um, Part A is free, but that's how many people get thrown in the hospital. It all depends what happens to you in your lifetime. Um, if you have no other health care, let's say you're turned 65, you got a younger wife. Well, she could put you on her health care and you don't even have to worry about that. If she's working full time, she said, look, man, I don't want to, be at home and do all this stuff you're doing. You just make sure you have something cooked and the place is clean. I'm going to go over here and do my seminars and work and, manage these people, whatever. Um, get your wife to put you on her health care. But if not, your plan B is going to be $185, and then you make the decision whether or not you're going to go with traditional Medicare or you're going to get an Advantage plan. But the next milestone is 65. That's the one for me is the comfort zone. I get to 65. Anything happens with the employment situation, I could decide, I would probably take a vacation. I'll be honest. I mean, I've got that Roth money set aside to go to Asia. Go there for a month or so, and I'd come back and think about a job, and then I'll start applying. And if not, that doesn't work out. I got plenty of money to cover me until I hit 67. If I hit 67, I want to collect in, I can. But if there's still enough money to bridge and I'm not hurting, these investments doing well, I'll just wait because full retirement age is 67. And after that, each year that I wait, I get 8% growth on the Social Security. It'll go by 8%. So 67, don't take it. 68, don't take it. 69, don't take it. When you pop into 70, you're going to take it then. And then you're going to have a nice big check. So whatever money I was drawing out, I could seize all that. I could stop that. And then I could just let it sit there and marinate and grow. And with the check that I'm getting, as I continue to work and delay Social Security, it will continue to add in, at least for those working years. Once I stop working, those years aren't going to be, there was no wages to be added in. Um, so it would be fixed at a certain amount. And then it would just grow by the 8%. And that puts you at 70, you would get the maximum Social Security. So that's the age milestones. So I'm at 62 now. The next milestone for me is hit 65. You hit 65, anything happens, you can bridge yourself to 67, take that retirement money at 67. But the biggest key for me taking these dollar amounts is that at my age, once I'm in the retirement, let's say 70, at 67, they've got enough to fund for 5 years. After that, they may be talking about a reduction. And if I take a 25% haircut in my Social Security income, everything needs to be set up where it doesn't affect me. I'm not going to be short. And that's it. And that's why I'm doing this retiring club. And that's our meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and end the presentation. If any of you have any questions or topics you want to go over, we'll go ahead and work on that. And what we're doing is trying to end up this year with everything that we need to have so that we can start talking about our year end finances, how they finished up, what are the balance of these accounts. Because I got plans for you, but you got to stick around. All right. My name is John, and I'm the host of this evening's Retiring Club.